You guys right now are struggling to aim, and I cannot blame you because you could be coming from a whole different range of backgrounds, right? So for me, I was playing first-person shooters, mainly sniping, mainly arena shooters. So this kind of lends to some of those strengths. It was a bit different. And if you're playing a top-down MOBA, then maybe your experience would be a lot different. And I just want to get you through some mechanics, right? So first we're going to work on your timing, right? So it's very important to practice your timing. Right, if you're not parrying enough, what you want to do is as soon as you hear the parry, the punch coming, you want to get yourself in that, like, you know, that habit of just instinctively pressing it, even if you're not looking, because it's really important to like just make sure that you are like parrying. Like, say for example, I'm just running away, bam, parried, bam, parried. Yeah, and what you want to do is kind of like just play around with this and see like the limits, as you can see there. Kind of seeing the limits of where we can go with this. Cool, now that's done. Next thing what you want to do is practice your like positioning, right? Do you find yourself in this kind of position where you're using your left side peek? Because look how far out I am right now compared to this, right? As you can see, I'm a lot harder to hit here. And I'm doing a lot more damage here, right? So make sure that you take advantage of the right side peek. I think almost every fight you take, you're gonna want the right side peek. You do not want to be in a position like this. Say if, for example, you're in a position like this, you're trying to lock an enemy down. It's so much better to just end up here instead, you know. Like I'll just take this any time of the week. The only time I'm taking this is if I'm like just so far ahead. That's just worth doing. Also, when you're fighting, forward roll to initiate, right? Movement is everything. If you're not forward rolling, what you want to do is spam your AD, right? But this just makes you so much harder to hit. All you kind of want to do is get yourself in like a half circle arc or third of a circle and just practice like just, you know, centering your mouse somewhat. Once you've done that, you'll kind of have some consistency. Now, before we even get to that, right, because I don't want you to waste your time centering your mouse if your sensitivity is way too fast. Try and benchmark yourself, right? So, is this you? Is this you? Can you see what's happening here? We're shooting, we're struggling to keep up, right? We're shooting behind. What does that mean? Well, that means our sensitivity is too slow. Yes, of course, you can practice your tracking, but what you want to do is when you're like moving your like arm comfortably, you do not want to like have to force yourself to all of a sudden kind of like, you know, you don't want to struggle. You want it to be a smooth motion. Or this could be you instead. But you're just constantly correcting yourself. Now, there's a lot of ways to correct this. But the quickest way to kind of get yourself a good baseline is to change your sensitivity. Because ideally, when you think about it, this is 80 damage you've done, like bullet damage, right? But what if you could do this instead? And that wasn't even perfect, right? But you get the point. We're doing so much more damage this way. We're centering for the head. And, well, the box is kind of randomized movement there. We're centering for the head. And we're also having a smooth glide. This is precisely what you want, guys, right? And then, obviously, you can kind of combine it with some movement. Now, how do we kind of benchmark ourselves? Well, there's this website called mouse-sensitivity.com. And what you want to do is put your mouse sensitivity inside there, as well as your DPI. Right. So when I do that, what I end up with is a, I believe 40 40.6 centimeters per 360, which apparently means I need to turn 40, well, move my mouse 40 centimeters to do a 360 turn, but actually, yeah, that looks about right. Using the majority of the mouse pad. Yeah. Yeah, that looks about right, actually. So, that's comfortable for me. What's comfortable for you will be, you know, dependent on you. But what I'm going to say is there are so many different factors, such as your mouse pad, your mouse skates, your grip, aim style, yada yada yada. But generally, what you want to do is be around 30 to 45 CM360 for a game like this, I'd say. Because then, for example, you'd want to be able to comfortably aim, you know, say for example, you're playing against a Lash or Abrams or Vindicta flying around. You know, you kind of want to be able to like just track them like smoothly, right? Without kind of like, you know, say for example, sudden movements. You don't want to like just all of a sudden, you know, that's me putting a lot of force into my mouse movement there, right? But for some people, that could be like a slight movement. That's not what you want. What you want is something real smooth. So, if you're overshooting, lower your sense. If you're undershooting, raise your sense. But do not get into a trap of just, you know, changing your sense every single like hour or every single day. Overall, what you want to do is just kind of like just benchmark yourself here and kind of see what feels comfortable to you. And once you've discovered that, kind of just stick with it, right? Because if you're not really used to shooting, your aim's inherently going to be bad. Now, what about this? I think what you should do here is practice your flicks, right? Because it's very important to kind of like just make sure that you get into a habit of flicking, and you kind of want to be like, you know, sub 200, I'd say. Usually, you know. A lot of people actually, they pre-fire, right? And you might notice that people are pre-firing quite often. I haven't got into the habit of doing that yet, because I just feel like it's too risky. It depends on the weapon you have, to be fair. But I'm more reactive, but I think once you get to the high levels, a lot of people are pre-firing. So it's up to you whenever you want to practice that. But make sure you get these fundamentals down correctly, right? Now, the final thing I would really recommend is just get a friend here, right? If you got a friend, or just get someone in Discord or whatever, someone that's really committed to like just improving their aim. And what you guys want to do is just kind of like practice against each other, right? So you want to get in the habit of being like, okay, every time this guy's here, I'm going to use my right side peek. If I'm not in the right side peek, or if he's not in the right side peek, kind of like just adjust to it. Get yourselves in positions where you're able to do right side peeking, because that's really important in this game. That's typically also why I prefer to take the tower from the left stairs, right? But it's all situational, because you can also use the height. There's so many things you can do. But what you want to consciously do is put your opponent in a situation where they're not using the right side peek. And I could go into a lot more depth on, you know, how to kind of like just generally get your aim real good, but I figured this would be like a quick start guide for people who are kind of just struggling, because you don't really have like an isolated way to train yet. I know there's like aim trainers, and it really depends on how you want to invest your time. But what I can tell you is there's been players who have competed at shooters before aim trainers existed, and take that for what you will, you know. Especially in a game like this, how do you really simulate the movement of Lash, of Abrams, of Vindicta, of Talon, of wall jumps, you know, of crouch sliding? So much. There's so much. So you can use aim trainers, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but maybe just think about how you're investing your time, right? You want to learn how to like class hit, there's literally tools here, right? If you want to know how to deny, There's tools here. Tools literally exist here. If you want to learn how to shoot while sliding, there's tools here. So kind of think about what you're trying to get from the aim trainer. If it's just to kind of like smooth your aim out, you know, there's this scenario called smooth your wrist. I'd recommend that. That could actually help you benchmark your sensitivity as well. You know, like just being able to smooth your wrist out. But yeah, hopefully this has been a useful video. Let me know. And if you like it, you already know what to do. Peace out.